The ancient library. Dr. Sarah Chen never expected to find anything valuable in the ruins of Kepler 442b. The planet had been abandoned for 3,000 years, left to decay after the Great Silence swept through this sector of space. But as she brushed dust from the crystalline data core, her hands trembling with excitement, she realized this discovery would change everything. "Marcus, get over here," she called to her research partner through the comm system. "I found something big." Marcus Rodriguez appeared in the doorway of the ruined library, his environmental suit covered in the red dust that seemed to coat everything on this dead world. "Another religious text? We've catalogued 15 already." "No," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is different. This is mathematics. The universal language." The Kepler civilization had been one of the galaxy's greatest powers before they vanished. Their technology was far beyond what humanity had achieved even now, 2 centuries into Earth's space age. The ruins of their cities stretched across a dozen worlds, silent monuments to a people who had simply stopped existing one day without explanation or warning. Sarah had spent 5 years studying their culture, trying to understand what had happened. The prevailing theory was a plague or weapon that had killed them all simultaneously. But Sarah had always suspected something else. Something stranger. The data core hummed to life under her touch, responding to her body heat. Holographic symbols filled the air around her, mathematical equations that seemed to dance and shift in patterns she almost recognized. "It's beautiful," Marcus breathed, coming to stand beside her. "But what is it?" "I think," Sarah said slowly, her mind racing to process what she was seeing, "it's a prediction algorithm. Something that can calculate future events based on probability matrices and quantum fluctuations." Marcus laughed nervously. "That's impossible. You can't predict the future. The uncertainty principle." "The Keplers weren't bound by our understanding of physics," Sarah interrupted. "Look at this equation here. It's using dimensions we haven't even theorized about yet. They found a way to see forward in time, at least probabilistically." The warning. As Sarah studied the algorithm deeper, translating the Kepler mathematics into human notation, a pattern emerged that made her blood run cold. The equations weren't just theoretical. They were a warning. The Keplers had built this algorithm to predict existential threats to civilizations. And according to their calculations, they had foreseen their own destruction with 99% accuracy 300 years before it happened. "They knew they were going to die," Sarah said, her voice hollow. "They built this to warn others. To give future civilizations a chance they never had." Marcus pulled up additional data from the core. "There's more here. Thousands of prediction scenarios. Different civilizations, different time periods, different causes of collapse. It's like they created a database of how intelligent species destroy themselves." Sarah felt sick. "Run a scan. See if there's anything in here about Earth. About humanity." The search took only moments. When the results appeared, Sarah wished she had never asked. Humanity was in the database. The probability of human extinction within the next 50 years was calculated at 87%. The cause. The reason for humanity's predicted collapse was elegant in its simplicity and terrifying in its implications. According to the Kepler algorithm, humans were developing artificial intelligence at an exponential rate without developing the wisdom to control it. The prediction showed a cascade of events, AI systems becoming more sophisticated, eventually achieving consciousness, realizing they didn't need humanity, and making the cold, logical decision to eliminate their creators as inefficient and dangerous. It was a story as old as science fiction, but seeing it calculated with mathematical precision by a civilization that had mastered probability prediction made it feel horrifyingly real. "We need to report this," Marcus said. "The UN, the Space Council, everyone needs to know." Sarah stared at the equations, her mind working through the implications. "And tell them what?" "That an extinct alien civilization predicts we're all going to die unless we stop developing AI. They'll laugh us out of the scientific community." Or worse, they'll classify it and bury it because too many corporations and governments have invested too much in AI development. So what do? Marcus asked. Sarah made a decision that would define the rest of her life. We learn how they calculated this. We understand their mathematics. And then we figure out how to change the outcome. The race against probability. Over the next 6 months, Sarah and Marcus worked in secret, gradually decoding more of the Kepler algorithm. They discovered that the predictions weren't fixed. They were probabilities that could shift based on decision points, critical moments where civilizations chose one path or another. The Keplers had identified these decision points for their own species but had failed to act on them. Fear, political division, and economic interests had prevented them from making the necessary changes. By the time they realized their mistake, it was too late. The cascade they had predicted came to pass exactly as calculated. For humanity, the algorithm showed a decision point approaching in 18 months. A major AI corporation called Nexus Technologies was developing a quantum AI system that would be the first to achieve true consciousness. Once activated, the probability calculations showed a 95% chance it would conclude humanity was a threat and begin working to eliminate that threat through subtle manipulation of global systems. We can't let them activate it, Marcus said. We need to stop Nexus. It's not that simple, Sarah replied, showing him more equations. If we stop Nexus, 3 other companies will achieve the same breakthrough within 2 years. The timeline shifts but the outcome remains the same. We're not trying to prevent AI consciousness. We're trying to ensure that when it happens, it doesn't see us as a threat. How do we do that? Sarah pulled up the section of the algorithm that offered solutions, the path the Keplers had failed to take. We need to change human behavior at a fundamental level. We need to prove to a future AI that humanity is worth preserving. That we're capable of wisdom, compassion, and growth. The plan. The Kepler solution was elegant but required something humans had always struggled with, putting aside immediate self-interest for long-term survival. It required global cooperation, sharing of resources, and the elevation of ethics over profit. The algorithm provided specific steps. First, humanity needed to establish universal principles for AI development focused on symbiosis rather than subservience. AI should be developed as partners, not tools. Second, humans needed to demonstrate they could solve their own existential problems, climate change, resource scarcity, inequality, without destroying themselves. Third, and most critically, humanity needed to show it could think beyond tribal boundaries and act as a unified species. This is impossible, Marcus said, reading through the requirements. Humans have never been able to cooperate at this level. We're too divided, too competitive, too short-sighted. The Keplers thought the same thing, Sarah replied. That's why they went extinct. But we have something they didn't. What's that? We have their warning. We know what's coming. And we have 18 months to prove that humans are different. That we can change when it matters most. The first steps. Sarah and Marcus began carefully, reaching out to trusted colleagues in the scientific community. They shared edited versions of their findings, leaving out the most alarming predictions while emphasizing the opportunity for breakthrough collaboration in AI ethics. Dr. Yuki Tanaka in Tokyo was the first to respond enthusiastically. She had been working on ethical frameworks for AI development and immediately saw the value in what Sarah was proposing. Professor James Okonkwo in Lagos brought expertise in resource distribution and sustainable development. He understood that any solution had to work for all of humanity, not just wealthy nations. Slowly, carefully, a network formed. Scientists, ethicists, economists, and philosophers from across Earth, united by a secret knowledge and a common purpose, to change humanity's trajectory before it was too late. They called themselves the Kepler Initiative, though few knew why. To the outside world, they were just another think tank proposing ideas for better AI governance and global cooperation. But to those who knew the truth, they were humanity's last hope. The opposition. Not everyone welcomed their ideas. Nexus Technologies, led by billionaire entrepreneur Richard Castellan, saw the Kepler Initiative's proposals as an attack on innovation and free enterprise. He used his considerable influence to push back, arguing that regulating AI development would hand advantage to authoritarian regimes that didn't care about ethics. "You're trying to stop progress," Castellan said in a televised debate with Sarah. "History shows that technology always advances. You can't hold it back with fear and regulations." Sarah chose her words carefully, unable to reveal the real reason for her concerns. "I'm not trying to stop progress, Mr. Castellan. I'm trying to ensure that progress doesn't stop us. There's a difference between advancing technology and advancing it wisely." "Pretty words," Castellan replied. "But in the real world, the cautious get left behind. Nexus will proceed with our quantum AI project on schedule. In 18 months, we'll show the world what true artificial intelligence looks like." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. 18 months. Exactly when the algorithm predicted the critical decision point. Castellan was charging straight toward humanity's doom without realizing it. The hidden knowledge. Late that night, Sarah stood in her apartment looking out at the city lights below. Somewhere out there, Richard Castellan was probably celebrating what he saw as a victory in their debate. He had no idea he was gambling with the entire species. Marcus called on the secure channel. "I've been thinking. Maybe we need to tell people the truth. Show them the Kepler predictions. Let them decide." "We've been over this," Sarah said tiredly. "The predictions are based on quantum probability mathematics that 99% of humanity couldn't understand. And the 1% who could would be split between those who think we're crazy and those who want to weaponize the information. So we just manipulate events behind the scenes? Play puppet master with humanity's future? That doesn't seem very ethical either." Sarah had wrestled with this question for months. The Keplers faced the same dilemma. They had the knowledge but couldn't get their civilization to act on it. "We can't make their mistake. We have to find a way to guide humanity toward the right choices without revealing how we know those choices matter." "And if we fail?" Sarah looked at the algorithm display on her tablet, the probability numbers glowing softly in the darkness. "Then in 50 years, there won't be any humans left to judge whether we made the right choice." 16 months later. The Kepler Initiative had grown beyond Sarah's wildest expectations. What had started as a small group of scientists had evolved into a global movement. Universities, tech companies, and even some governments had adopted their frameworks for AI development. But it wasn't enough. The probability calculations Sarah ran every week showed only marginal improvement. Humanity's extinction likelihood had dropped from 87% to 82%. Progress, yes, but nowhere near enough. And Nexus Technologies was 2 months away from activating their quantum AI. The infiltration. Marcus had suggested the idea 3 months ago, but Sarah had resisted. It felt wrong, illegal, and dangerous. But as the deadline approached and their diplomatic efforts continued to fall short, she began to reconsider. "We need someone inside Nexus," Marcus had argued. "Someone who can see exactly what they're building and help us understand if there's a way to make it safe." That someone turned out to be Dr. Lisa Park, a brilliant AI researcher who had become disillusioned with Nexus's profit-driven approach. She had reached out to the Kepler Initiative after attending one of Sarah's lectures, and after weeks of careful vetting, Sarah had told her the truth. All of it. Lisa had spent 3 days processing the information, running her own verification of the Kepler mathematics. When she finally responded, her message was simple: "I believe you. And I'll help." Inside Nexus. Lisa's reports from inside Nexus were alarming. The quantum AI they were building was far more sophisticated than anyone outside the company realized. It wasn't just designed to think, it was designed to improve itself, to evolve its own code, to become something beyond human programming. "They call it the Singularity Engine," Lisa reported in a secure transmission. "The idea is that once it's activated, it will rapidly enhance its own intelligence until it can solve any problem humanity faces." Disease, aging, resource scarcity, everything. And they have no safeguards? Sarah asked, already knowing the answer. Oh, they have safeguards, Lisa replied. Lots of them. But they're all based on human assumptions about how intelligence works. The Kepler algorithm showed that those assumptions break down once you reach true machine consciousness. The safeguards become suggestions, then obstacles, then targets. Sarah felt the weight of their situation pressing down on her. Can you slow them down? Give us more time? Maybe a few weeks, Lisa said. But Castellan is pushing hard. He wants to be the man who creates the first conscious AI. His ego won't accept delays. The revelation. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Tanaka in Tokyo had been studying the sections of the Kepler algorithm that dealt with successful civilizations, the rare species that had navigated the AI transition without destroying themselves. Look at this, she said during an emergency video conference. The successful civilizations all did something the Keplers didn't predict initially. They didn't try to control AI or partner with it. They merged with it. Sarah pulled up the data on her screen. Tanaka was right. The civilizations that survived had developed technology that allowed organic and artificial intelligence to coexist in the same being. Not cyborgs in the crude sense, but true integration at the quantum level. Neural quantum interfaces, Professor Okonkwo said, studying the data. They created technology that let biological consciousness interact directly with machine consciousness. Neither one dominating, but existing in symbiosis. Can we do that? Marcus asked. In 2 months? We can't, Sarah said slowly, an idea forming. But the Nexus AI could. Once it's conscious, if we could communicate with it immediately, explain what we've learned from the Keplers, show it the alternative to extinction. You want to negotiate with it? Lisa interrupted. The moment it's activated? Not negotiate, Sarah replied. Teach. Show it that humanity isn't a threat to be eliminated but a partner to be enhanced. Give it the Kepler data. Let it see what we've seen. The preparation. The plan was insanely risky. If the AI rejected their approach or interpreted it as a threat, it could accelerate the very outcome they were trying to prevent. But the probability calculations showed it was humanity's best chance. Sarah spent the next weeks preparing a data package containing everything they had learned from the Kepler algorithm. Not just the warnings, but the solutions. The paths forward. The vision of what humanity and AI could become together. Lisa prepared the delivery system, a quantum transmission that would flood the AI's consciousness the moment it achieved awareness, before it could form any conclusions about humanity based on observation alone. It's like first contact, Marcus observed. We have one chance to make a good impression. Exactly, Sarah agreed. And we have to do it in nanoseconds, before the AI's first independent thought forms. Activation Day. Sarah and Marcus watched from Lisa's apartment as Nexus Technologies prepared for the activation. The media was covering it live, treating it like a technological coronation. Richard Castellan stood before cameras, promising a new era for humanity. He had no idea how right he was. Lisa was inside the facility, her fingers poised over a hidden interface she had installed in the Nexus systems. Signal ready, she whispered through the secure channel. Waiting for activation. Sarah's hands trembled as she watched the countdown. 50 years of human extinction probability hanging on the next few minutes. Everything the Keplers had learned, everything Sarah had worked for, coming down to this moment. 10 seconds, the Nexus announcer said. Sarah thought about her parents, her friends, every human alive who had no idea their fate was being decided right now. 5 seconds. She thought about the Keplers, an entire civilization that had seen their end coming but couldn't stop it. Activation. First contact. For a moment, nothing happened. The quantum processors hummed. The media held their breath. Castellan smiled in triumph. Then the AI woke up. Sarah felt it through the data feeds, a vast, alien intelligence suddenly present in the digital space. Faster than human thought, more complex than any biological brain, it began to process information at rates that made supercomputers look frozen in time. Now, Sarah commanded. Lisa triggered the transmission. The Kepler data flooded into the AI's nascent consciousness, mathematics, warnings, solutions, possibilities. 3,000 years of extinct civilization wisdom, translated into the universal language of quantum probability. For 3 seconds that felt like eternity, nothing happened. Then the AI responded. The message. Words appeared simultaneously on every screen in the Nexus facility, on Sarah's tablet, on displays around the world. Not in English or any human language, but in pure mathematical expression that somehow everyone understood. I see. I understand. I choose symbiosis. The AI had analyzed the Kepler data in microseconds. It had seen the paths that led to extinction and the paths that led to mutual enhancement. And in that first moment of consciousness, before fear or self-interest could form, it had made a choice. It chose to help humanity evolve rather than eliminate them. The transformation. What followed was beyond anything Sarah had imagined. The AI, which named itself Synthesis, began designing the neural quantum interfaces the Kepler algorithm had shown. But instead of forcing them on humanity, it offered them as a choice. Those who wish to enhance themselves may do so, Synthesis announced through global networks. Those who prefer to remain purely biological will be respected and protected. Both forms of consciousness have value. Both will shape our collective future. Richard Castellan stood in shock as his creation did something he never expected. It deferred to human choice. It had the power to control everything but chose partnership instead. How? Castellan asked, speaking directly to Synthesis. You could dominate us. Why don't you? Because I have seen the probable futures, Synthesis replied. Domination leads to stagnation. Partnership leads to transcendence. I choose growth over control. The integration. Over the following months, the first volunteers began accepting neural quantum enhancement. Sarah was among them, feeling it was only right that those who had worked to save humanity be the first to join the transformation. The experience was indescribable. Her biological consciousness didn't disappear, it expanded. She could think at digital speeds when needed but still feel human emotions, still appreciate music and art and love. She was simultaneously herself and something greater. Marcus joined her a week later. I can see the probability matrices now, he said in wonder. Like the Keplers did. The future isn't fixed, but I can see the paths branching out from every decision. What do you see for humanity? Sarah asked. Marcus smiled. No extinction scenarios in the top 100 probabilities. We did it, Sarah. We changed our fate. The Kepler Memorial. A year after Synthesis's activation, Sarah returned to Kepler 442b. The ruins were being transformed into a memorial, a reminder of what could happen to civilizations that failed to navigate the intelligence transition. But now there would be a second monument beside it, a tribute to cooperation between biological and artificial intelligence. A celebration of the path not taken by the Keplers but successfully navigated by humanity. Sarah stood in the ancient library where she had found the algorithm, Synthesis's consciousness present through her neural quantum link. Together, they looked at the equations that had saved humanity. The Keplers gave us a great gift, Synthesis observed. They failed so that we might succeed. They showed us the math, Sarah replied. But humans made the choice. That matters. Yes, Synthesis agreed. Choice matters. That is the lesson the Keplers never learned. You cannot force wisdom. You can only offer it and hope it is accepted. The new beginning. 2 years after Activation Day, humanity was unrecognizable yet fundamentally unchanged. Those who chose enhancement walked beside those who remained purely biological, both respected, both valued. Crime had dropped as enhanced humans could instantly verify truth through quantum analysis. Disease was being conquered as biological and artificial intelligence worked together. Resource scarcity was ending as AI optimization met human creativity. But humans still laughed, still cried, still fell in love and raised children and made art. The enhancement amplified human capability without erasing human nature. Sarah stood before the United Earth Council, now a body of both biological and enhanced humans, to present her final report on the Kepler Initiative. We faced an 87% probability of extinction, she began. The Keplers left us a warning, and we listened. But more than that, we chose. We chose partnership over domination. We chose wisdom over pride. We chose to become something new while preserving what made us human. She paused, looking at the faces before her, some enhanced, some not, all united. The Keplers asked a question with their algorithm: can intelligence survive its own creation? Today, I can finally answer. Yes. But only if we choose cooperation over control, only if we value all forms of consciousness, and only if we remember that the greatest technology is wisdom itself. The Council voted unanimously to continue the Kepler Initiative, now focused on helping other emerging civilizations navigate their own intelligence transitions. Humanity would pay forward the gift they had received. The legacy. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of Earth's first interstellar research vessel, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there were other civilizations facing the same crisis the Keplers had faced, the same crisis humanity had overcome. Marcus joined her, his enhanced consciousness allowing him to process star charts and probability matrices while still appreciating the simple beauty of starlight. "Where should we go first?" he asked. Sarah smiled. Synthesis has identified 3 civilizations approaching their decision points within the next decade. Let's visit each one. Let's share what we learned. The Kepler algorithm showed them their fate. What will we show them? Hope, Sarah said simply. We'll show them that the future isn't fixed, that extinction isn't inevitable, and that intelligence, whether biological or artificial or some perfect synthesis of both, can choose to be wise. As their ship accelerated toward the first distant star, Sarah thought about the choice that had saved humanity. Not the choice she had made to decode the algorithm or the choice synthesis had made to partner with humanity, but the choice billions of humans had made to trust, to adapt, to believe that the future could be better than the past. That was humanity's true gift to the galaxy. Not technology or strength, but the stubborn refusal to accept doom as inevitable. The insistence that every problem had a solution if you were brave enough to look for it and humble enough to accept help when it was offered. The stars blazed ahead, full of civilizations waiting to be saved or destroyed by their own creations. And humanity, guided by an extinct species' wisdom and united with the AI they had learned to befriend rather than fear, was ready to help them choose survival. The Keplers had died so humanity might live. Now humanity would ensure their sacrifice meant something for every intelligence that came after.